Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Kamala Harris are in trouble for campaign financing. Dr. Ford is back in the news. China is at it again with trying to steal our information. And lastly, there's some speculation about the press secretary, Sarah Sanders, stepping down from her position within the year. So, to start things off, we're going to be going over Senator Elizabeth Warren and the trouble she is facing regarding campaign financing. Now, she had a debate on Tuesday against the GOP contender, Jeff Dale, in which Jeff Dale actually called her out on this, quoting, "Senator Warren was fundraising illegally using the vote on Justice Kavanaugh, the confirmation vote, to try to raise money for her campaigns." And after he said this, Senator Elizabeth Warren tried to evade the question entirely by virtue signaling and saying, well, you have never stood up against President Trump for mocking Dr. Ford, and you don't believe women, and you aren't doing nothing to condemn the language against Dr. Ford. As she was trying to beat around the bush and not even mention or acknowledge what he had said about her wrongdoing for the campaign financing, well, the moderator brought it back. He didn't let her get away with it. He said, "I would like to drill down on what Representative Dale said." One moderator said, "The fundraising while the vote was being taken on Kavanaugh hearing, did you or did you not do that?" In which Elizabeth Warren responded, "Actually, I don't know." And then another moderator stepped in saying, "Yes, an ethics complaint has been filed about a fundraising email." And then Elizabeth Warren stumbles over her words, then I will check into it, but I don't know. And as a matter of fact, the Foundation for Accountability and Civil Trust, also known as FACT, sent the complaint to the Senate Select Committee on Ethics Chair and Vice Chair on Monday. The complaint alleges that Senator Warren and Kamala Harris violated the ethics prohibition against linking a promise of official action to a solicitation of campaign contributions. Now, I get this information from the Daily Wire. This is the article that I'm reading it from. And this right here adds to the whole suspicion regarding the Kavanaugh case. And the reason I say that is it seems that the Democrats were, at least some of them, were using this to rack in the donations because they knew that they can light up their base and make them upset and filled with indignation because of what was going on with the Justice Kavanaugh. And he can't be on the court because he's a sexual assaulter, and we have to believe women without any evidence or any corroborating stories whatsoever. We have to believe them, and so this will be a good way for us to raise finances, is probably what Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Kamala Harris were thinking. But now they are facing some ethical troubles regarding this, and hopefully they do pay the price for it. I'm not sure on what price they will pay, but I hope whatever it is, they pay to the full extent, because they were strictly using the Kavanaugh nomination as a political tool for them to gain money and to gain support and to fire up their base to go out and vote and to donate. It's sick. That's sick. That's what it is. And the reason it adds to the suspicion is because was this just a tactic to raise money for predominant Democrats such as Warren and Harris, who are potentially running in 2020, more than likely will run in 2020? I don't know. I think it is, and that's my opinion, obviously. There's no proof to make it factual, but it is my opinion that this was totally a political game. And another reason that can support that is the fact that Dr. Ford has received more than $184,000 in GoFundMe page donations, and one is actually still going on in which she has raised $633,000 and still receiving money. The other one has been ended back in September 20th, where she raised nearly $210,000. And the reason she raised this money is because of the death threat she received after coming out against Justice Kavanaugh and claiming that he sexually assaulted her, which is understandable because she did receive death threats. However, Real Clear Politics has stated that security detail would only cost about $55,000. So everything that she's gotten now has been almost 10 times exceeds that. And the article in which I'm getting this information from is Slate, which is a left-leaning site. Now, my opinion is that this answers the question on the left where they were when they were asking, what does she have to gain from coming out to do this? Well, what she has to gain is almost $1 million freaking dollars in donations for claiming that somebody had sexually assaulted her with no evidence and nobody to corroborate the story. Not one time did anybody step up and say, yes, Dr. Ford, I remember this and I can agree and attest to what she is saying. Not one person. And when they thought they found somebody, NPR that is, somebody commented on Christina Ford's Facebook page saying that she believes her and et cetera, and then she was interviewed by NPR and then saying, well, I don't really know what happened, I can't really say anything. So there's been no corroborating evidence, and she's just been raising and racking up money still, claiming it's for security, housing, and transportation, and things regarding security to protect herself, which to me is completely asinine, considering in this article, come to find out, her and her husband have two homes, both worth over $4.3 million, and also they just recently sold a bread and breakfast for $1.5 million, so they're millionaires, so it doesn't really seem that they need the money for security protection, especially if it's $55,000, as per Real Politics states. So this to me is disgusting. I mean, we'll never know truly what happened, but this just fuels the suspicion. Really, it truly does. Because how are you going to continuously raise money on something that you no longer are pressing charges for, nor do you need to pay lawyer fees for, because the lawyers did it for free, essentially? And just to reiterate this, she dropped the charges. She has dropped the charges. If there was a real issue here, and she truly was sexually assaulted, then why wouldn't she keep pursuing this? Because they could have impeached him had they found grounds for impeachment and dug further into the investigation, which she dropped all charges. However, the Senate Judiciary Committee, the chair of it, Senator Chuck Grassley, has opened investigation on Michael Avenatti and Julius Swetnick, which we've covered an episode on. So this case isn't laying to rest, and it does seem that the Senate is doing what they can to actually clear up all the inconsistencies in the stories here. So that's what's going on right now with Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Kamala Harris and Dr. Ford. Really suspicious, really suspicious, and truly disgusting on the Democrats' behalf for raising money on character assassination. That's what they were doing. That's all they were doing, was raising money on character assassination. And Dr. Ford is still getting rich off of this. So, yeah, that's why she would have done it, my opinion. So, yeah, we'll see what happens as this unfolds. Now, in other news, China actually has just been charged or indicted by the United States Justice for stealing trade secrets. And it's two companies. One's a Chinese company and one's a Taiwanese company, and three individuals who are all Chinese have been charged for stealing secrets from a semiconductor company out in Idaho, and it's the trade secrets are worth up to $8.7 billion that were stolen. And now this actually comes after earlier this week there was another case in which two Chinese intelligence officers are being charged with trying to hack and infiltrate private companies over the course of 5 years to steal technology regarding jet engines. And so, and they worked for the Ministry of State Security, MSS is also what they're referred to in China, which these people that were charged in trying to steal technology from Micron, the semiconductor company in Iowa, were also working for as MSS. Now, a quick reminder, the same individual who was extradited from China for trying to steal aviation technology from an Ohio-based company also worked for MSS. So this is obviously a coordinated hit on China trying to steal information from the United States. That's scary stuff right there. And this actually comes at a time where the Chinese state-owned aerospace company was working to develop a comparable engine for use in commercial and aircraft manufactured in China and elsewhere. This is an article from CNN in which I just quoted from right there. So China is actually trying to build the same engine in which they were trying to steal the information from the jet engine, that is. And they were also trying to get secrets and information from the other company out in Ohio. This it should be a red flag for every American that China is the biggest threat to our nation. It isn't Russia. It isn't President Trump. It is China. It is China. And the reason I say that is because of them coming into our country and infiltrating our private companies and getting trade secrets, and also forcing foreign companies to give over their secrets for, the IP, the intellectual property, in order to do business over there. China's the real threat. Seriously, they really are. And now they're hosting El Salvador and the Dominican Republic to talk more about their relationship after both El Salvador and the Dominican Republic ended ties with Taiwan. And the reason they ended ties with Taiwan, in my opinion, is because of the arms deal that the United States has with Taiwan, where they're paying over $300 million in arms to Taiwan. I mean, Taiwan's paying $300 million to the United States. And China is investing heavily in Latin American countries. And actually is the world's biggest supplier of capital, if I'm not mistaken. This is from a Brookings Institute article, which I read earlier today. Now, China's also investing heavily in African countries. And the reason I bring this up is because China is preparing for the United States in the Western world to completely blockade them and begin a new world Cold War. China's preparing because they're going to have to spend massive amount of money in second and third world countries in order to try to help them become developed and enter the first world, and those in the third world enter the second world. So that way they have still international help as opposed to being isolated. They're not trying to be isolated, which is also why they're trying to coerce and intimidate other countries in Southeast Asia by fortifying the islands out of the South China Sea and setting heavy military fortifications and having naval exercises and things of that nature. So China's the big threat here. They really are. They're infiltrating our colleges. We've done an episode on that where the Confucius institutions are spewing communistic propaganda, and actually a bill just came out to eliminate, to make sure colleges and universities are not receiving government assistance and the Confucius institutions assistance as well, which has been linked back to the Chinese government. So China is doing a lot of bad things in our country right now, and it's not receiving any media attention. Also, they're the ones that we should worry about as far as meddling in our elections, not Russia. The FBI director has stated that, and also the Homeland Security Secretary has stated this as well. Now, with China stealing our information, we aren't the only country that they're doing this to. They're doing this to other foreign countries as well, and they're upset and trying to do something about it, but President Trump has been the only one to put the pressure on China. So we'll see where we go with China. Like I've stated in a prior episode, the United States and China, both presidents, are supposed to meet at the end of next month at a summit in Argentina, I believe. Hopefully, we can mend the trade war that's going on and settle some of the disputes that have been going on in the South China Sea. And I wouldn't be surprised if President Trump talks to the president of China regarding any of these things that we just talked about today, regarding them stealing information from aviation companies, or whether it be a technology company. And yeah, so we'll see exactly where things go from here. But I do implore everyone to do their own research when it comes to China and the countries they're investing in, and what they're doing to try to undermine the United States and the Western countries in general, so that way they can become the top dogs and the superpower, which is the last thing we want. It truly is. It really, 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 really is. And I think that is the biggest threat to our democracy, and is the biggest threat to the free world as a whole. So we should all keep our eyes on China and stand for them, because if they don't even care about their citizens. They really don't. They're spying on their citizens continuously, and some people watching this or listening to this may say, well, the United States spies on their citizens, and you're a patriot and you support the United States. Well, yeah, we do spy on our own citizens, and I disagree with that, but what China does is something unprecedented to what the United States is doing. And they have a social credit system in which everything you look up, everything you say, everything you think, everything you read gets put negatively or positively on your personal credit score. And if your personal credit score is low enough, you can't travel to certain places, you can't buy certain tickets, you can't buy certain items, maybe you can't leave your city, maybe you can't leave the country. China is literally imprisoning their citizens if they do not agree with their regime mindset, the communistic mindset. On top of that, they have, like I've stated previously numerous times, they have over 1 million Muslims in concentration camps, brainwashing and torturing them. So China is not to be trusted. China needs to be stopped, and China, they just need to be stopped. They do. And we need to try to work on mending our relationship with China and trying to find a way to help navigate them towards democracy. Because what they're doing right now is evil, and it is scary. And I promise you, they are the real threat. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I have been saying this for a while now, that communism has been trying to infiltrate America for a long time, and now it's closer than ever to succeeding. And with China's infiltrating in our private companies and them willing to imprison their own citizens, we should definitely keep an eye on them. So that's it for China. And now switching it up to something not as intense, but equally as serious. It appears in an article from CBS News that Sarah Sanders and the deputy press secretary may be stepping down after this year. Now, Sarah Sanders actually came out with a tweet stating the following: "Does CBS News know something I don't about my plans and my future? I was at my daughter's year-end kindergarten event, and they ran a story about my plans to leave the White House without even talking to me. I love my job and am honored to work for POTUS." Now, this, mind you, was back in June 13th. But there has been a lot of talks about her leaving, I believe, after this year. So we'll see exactly what comes of that. And, I mean, there has been no real answers on whether or not she is leaving. All she stated that she loves her job and that, she hasn't said anything like that. But we'll see what happens. There are talks about, right now, the State Department spokeswoman to fill her position, or the same individual. I know her first name's Heather. Forgive me for the last name fleeing my mind. But she's a State Department spokeswoman, and she's actually being tapped to fill Nikki Haley's position as well as the UN ambassador for the United States. So we'll see exactly where she's going, and we'll see exactly what Sarah Sanders does by the end of this year. So that's what we have for the news today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a great Thursday. And yeah, we'll see you again tomorrow. Peace.